Imagine you wake up tomorrow, grab your phone, and see this notification. Good morning. The government has decided to fix everything. We just printed a ton of new money and transferred $1 million into every citizen's bank account. Congratulations, you're rich now. Your brain does two things at once. First, let's go! I'm quitting my job. Second, wait, is this even real? And if it is, what's the catch? Why can't governments just print more money and make everyone rich? Sounds dumb on the surface, but it's actually exactly the kind of question serious economists spend their lives thinking about. So in this video, we're going to tear that question apart and explain each part in 13 minutes. Welcome to 13 Min Finance. By the end, you'll see why just print more money is like trying to lose weight by buying a bigger mirror. It changes what you see, not what actually exists. Let's start with a simple but slightly annoying truth. Money is not wealth. We use those words like they're the same thing, but they're not. Wealth is all the stuff: food, houses, laptops, roads, doctors, developers, musicians, medicines, energy. Money is just the scoreboard we use to keep track of who gets how much of that stuff. Imagine you're at a basketball game. The scoreboard shows 9-4. If you walk up and change it to 150-100, did you actually change the game? No, you just lied with numbers. That's what printing money without changing production is. Changing the scoreboard, not the game. Or picture this. You're alone on a deserted island, surrounded by palm trees and coconuts, and somehow you still have your wallet. Inside, $10,000 in crisp notes. Can you buy food? Can you rent an apartment? Can you order a pizza? Nope. Your money is just colorful paper. There's no one to accept it and nothing to buy. On that island, clean water, shelter, and food are wealth, not banknotes. So when people say, why don't we just print more money? What they're really saying, without realizing it, is, why don't we just change the scoreboard and pretend the game got better? Okay, let's leave the island and go somewhere you know very well. A pizza party. You invite 10 friends over. You've got 10 pizzas. Each pizza has 8 slices. That's 80 slices total. 8 slices per person if you share fairly. Simple, right? Now, let's add money to the picture. Imagine each person has $10. You decide each slice costs $1. Total money in the room, $100. Total slices, 80. Everyone can eat, prices are fine, no drama. Now, imagine the government says, to fight hunger and make people happy, we're sending every person an extra $90. Now, each person has $100. Total money in the room, $1,000. But there are still only 80 slices of pizza. Nothing new was grown, baked, or delivered. You just increased numbers, not slices. What happens? People don't magically become relaxed and generous. They think, I can finally eat as much as I want. I'll take a whole pizza for myself. Actually, make it 2. Demand explodes. Supply stays the same. So the person selling pizza looks around and thinks, everyone suddenly has more money and still wants the same pizza. I can raise the price and they'll still pay. So the price per slice creeps from $1 to $2, then $3, maybe $5. On paper, you went from $10 to $100, 10 times richer, right? But in reality, a slice went from $1 to $10, also 10 times. You didn't get richer. The scoreboard just got more digits. If this is already making more sense than your last economics class, good. That's the whole point here. We take questions that sound stupid, break them into simple scenes like this, and make them make sense. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, keep that in mind. I'm going to ask you for your next big dumb question toward the end. What you just saw at the pizza party is supply and demand in its basic form. When the money supply goes up, but the amount of stuff stays the same, you don't get more stuff, you just get higher prices. Economists give this a fancy name: inflation. Your money buys less. If governments keep hitting print, you feel it everywhere. Rent increases, groceries get more expensive, savings lose value. Salaries feel worthless again in a few months. People think we're suffering because there isn't enough money. In reality, very often, we're suffering because we're not producing enough valuable stuff, but the money numbers are exploding. Now, quick detour. When we say print money, most people imagine giant machines in a basement going brrr, spitting out cash 24/7. Reality is way more boring and more dangerous because it's invisible. Let's simplify how it actually works. First, the government. They say, we want to spend more than we collect in taxes, on stimulus, projects, maybe even some vote-buying tricks. Second, the Treasury. They say, okay, we'll borrow the extra by issuing government bonds. Third, the central bank. They say we can buy some of those bonds by creating new money, electronically. No forklift of banknotes, no truck of cash, just a few keystrokes on a computer and poof, billions exist now. That new money flows into banks, then into loans, markets, and asset prices. It pumps up demand across the economy. If the economy can respond by producing more goods and more services, inflation stays in check. But if production capacity is limited, prices start to rise. So the real question is not just, did they print money or not? The real question is, are we creating new, real value to match the new money? Now, what happens when governments go full don't care, just print mode? Let's talk about hyperinflation. When inflation goes so high, it basically breaks money itself. Take Zimbabwe in the 2000s. The country faced massive political problems, terrible economic management, and policies that crushed production. Government spending kept rising, but income didn't keep up. The solution? Of course, we'll just print more money. At first, people were relieved. Salaries went up in numbers. On paper, the government could pay its bills. But soon, prices started doubling every few days. Then every day. Then almost every few hours. People would get paid, run straight to the store, and see that prices had already jumped. Their paycheck melted while they stood in line. Eventually, they printed trillion-dollar banknotes. You needed stacks of cash just to buy bread. And nobody trusted the currency anymore. That's hyperinflation. When inflation goes completely off the rails and money starts dying as an idea. At that point, you don't have a currency. You have colorful paper. And hyperinflation hits one group especially hard: savers, retirees, families that spent 30 years saving safely in cash. One morning, they wake up and realize all those decades of sacrifice now buy 2 bags of groceries. You didn't just raise prices, you stole their past. So, printing unlimited money clearly causes disasters. But there's a more subtle version of this same question that sounds much nicer. People say, okay, fine, maybe we shouldn't print money for everyone. But what if we print only for good things? And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, right? Let's print just to end poverty. Let's print just to make education free. Let's print just to pay off our national debt. Let's break these down quickly. First, let's print to end poverty. The intention is good, but the mechanism is the same. More money chasing the same amount of housing, food, and services leads to higher prices. And here's the twist. The poor are usually the most vulnerable to inflation. Wealthy people often own assets, real estate, stocks, businesses, that can rise in value with inflation. Poorer people mostly hold cash and low wages, which inflation destroys. So the painful irony is, printing money for the poor often hurts the poor the most. Second, let's print to pay off government debt. Sounds clever, until you remember that investors and foreign lenders are not stupid. If they see you expanding your money supply aggressively just to pay them back, they think this currency is getting weaker. If they pay us back in this, we're actually losing value. So they demand higher interest rates, stop lending, or simply treat your money as toy money. You pay your debts, sure, but with money nobody trusts. Long term, that makes everything worse. Third, what if my country is rich, strong, or has a reserve currency like the US dollar? Can't they print more safely? Being a reserve currency gives you more room to make mistakes, but it doesn't give you infinite power. Print too much for too long, and the same basic physics kicks in: supply and demand. Production versus money. The universe does not say, this country is cool, so the rules of math and incentives do not apply here. So if printing money doesn't make us rich, what does? If you want more breakdowns like this in bite-sized videos, where we take the financial nonsense you see every day and translate it into normal human language, here's what to do. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Then go to the comments and type, "Explain this next," and add the finance question you've always been afraid to ask. The best dumb question might just become the next video. So, if printing money doesn't make us rich, what does? Short answer: productivity and real value creation. A country truly gets richer when more people do productive work, when more valuable companies are built, when infrastructure improves, when education and technology levels rise, and when the same worker can produce more value in less time. When farmers can grow more food with fewer resources. When engineers can design better systems. When developers can build useful software. When creators can make content people genuinely want. Then it makes sense for more money to exist, because there is more real stuff for that money to represent. Today's strongest economies are not strong because they discovered a magic money printer that breaks the rules. They got there slowly, through productivity, innovation, and relatively stable rules that people can trust. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.